And you thought Mappa was bad. So the anime studio saga continues. This is really just getting ridiculous. Here's some surprising stuff coming out, and Better Call Saul, plus an overall Mappa follow-up. So go ahead and smash a like and ring the bell to actually get notified. And by the way, definitely subscribe to the new channel, 5 spicy anime videos up, including a secret one. The channel's actually growing fast, so I might be able to stream soon. So jumping into the story, originally you had Animator Jones speaking out about their terrible work environment at an anime studio. Not Mappa this time, but the monkey studio, Science Saru. They're actually a pretty small studio, but you definitely know their anime work. Keep Your Hands Off Enzokai from last year, it was nominated for Anime of the Year. The controversial Japan Sinks, I liked it enough. They're one of the anime studios working on Star Wars Visions, and easily their biggest known anime is Devilman Crybaby, which did win Anime of the Year, so you know they've done their fair share of anime gems. Anyway, getting into the headline for this, I have some horror stories. You could only imagine what's coming up. Joan worked at Science Saru for about a year and a half. She worked on Eizouken, Japan Sinks, and a good chunk of the Star Wars anime coming later this year. Before Rona started raging in Japan, she described the studio culture as vibrant and open to communication. Despite not knowing Japanese, she felt immediately welcome there. The interview mentions how Science Saru is known for their international staff, a lot of people from North America or Europe. The current CEO was even generous enough to provide weekly Japanese tutoring for their international staff. They even hired a translator to provide live translations during meetings. Alright, sounding great so far. Joan went on to describe her colleagues as friendly and supportive. One of her supervisors even taught her how to skateboard during lunchtime. What impressed her was her colleagues' motivated attitude during the studio's tight deadlines. It was something she didn't see before in a Western studio. Getting into Science Saru and their own crunch culture. Joan was originally under a different Korean animator. The guy left the studio due to being burnt out and consideration for his family. A project manager and Joan then followed. They realized the pressure, hours, and pay they had to sacrifice were not suitable for their futures. This is where she got into the horror stories from working at the studio, which, funny enough, she was actually thankful to admit were fewer than some other anime studios. Wonder which those could be. A standout scene for her was having all these 20-something girls in the bathroom crying and doing all-nighters. That the studio had such a tight production schedule that it was really unable to consider the mental health and conditions of the project manager who quit when she did. Joan tried to speak on her behalf, voicing her complaints to the supervisor and CEO. It was clear that they did care in their response, but at the same time, there wasn't much they could change. It really went back to the studio culture and pressure that required these long hours to make the deadlines. Ultimately, the issue here wasn't the workflow for anime projects, but rather taking on too many anime projects. Doesn't that sound familiar? This year, they took on Unio, an anime movie, 2 anime season projects, plus that Star Wars anime as a cherry on top. As a comparison, this is around double the anime work compared to the recent years. Science Saru is a small anime studio with around 40 to 50 core employees. Even taking freelancers into account, it's just not enough. What's a real eye-opener is that you do get a concrete taste of how little animators make. A US animator's salary ranges from $50,000 to $70,000. I'm thinking this is someone from either Disney or Powerhouse Animation working on like Castlevania. And get this, a storyboard artist is making almost 6 figures average. Damn. Now compare with Japan. An actual full-time position tends to be rarer for animators, but entry level it's around $20,000. Or lower if you're getting paid by the cut. Let that sink in, it's freaking insane how low that is. Especially if you are living inside of Tokyo where most anime studios are located. I mean, you could be working at freaking 7-Eleven outside of high school and be making the same as these talented people pulling all-nighters just to make the deadline for your favorite anime. Here's a quote from the studio CEO. In an industry where many animators are freelancers living with their parents to cover the bills, Science Saru provides a stable salary for its employees. But is it really that much of a positive when your staff is breaking down from all those all-nighters? I don't think so. Joan thinks these anime studios should take responsibility and negotiate higher rates when it comes to the anime production, which really brings up the recent example of Netflix lowballing studios, and the anime studio like Mappa seemingly just accepting it for some reason. Come on, Come on, Japan, learn to negotiate. An anime studio working at a higher rate can have a better schedule, have less projects, and maybe hopefully more money goes down to their animators. You know, the literal blood of the studio. Right now you have the streaming wars with Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and the others. They're looking for content. They freaking need you anime studios. So it's time to grow a pair, grow a backbone, instead of instantly barking when these Western media giants come ask you for something. They got the cash to burn. It's out in the open. You could literally see reports on how much they're willing to spend for live action projects. I can guarantee you Powerhouse and their staff are eating good when it comes to Netflix deals. Especially nowadays, anime is making cash, so the money just isn't getting down to the bottom, which is a glaring problem that needs to get addressed. Joan mentions the sad reality that animators in Japan are used to working for these terrible rates and putting up with abuse, which might speak to the bigger issue, that anime studios and even Netflix Japan doesn't want to rock the boat, being resistant to negotiate whatsoever. Which really makes me so frustrated to hear. I mean, from personal experience, you know of sponsors that appear sometimes. The process is similar. I've gotten lowballed so hard that it actually makes me cringe at just the thought of the past. But eventually, after getting screwed enough, you learn how to negotiate. Which, by the way, a quick thank you to you awesome guys who do support the sponsors. Rona has just devastated YouTube pay, so sponsors really make a huge difference when it comes to being a full-time creator. Anyway, Joan brings up a solution worth considering. When it comes to paying per cut, how about adapting a tier system? Something like easy, mid, or hard. That way you could charge double for mid, and 3 times or more for something more complex. At the same time, it would help to communicate to the client what exactly is the level of difficulty for the anime they want. Oh, you got no money for 7 Deadly Sins? Got it, you get the Walmart Quality Buddy. A tight budget for Record of Ragnarok? No problem, you get the slideshow version. Again, it feels really mind-boggling to hear that there's no system like this in place. Come on, Japan. If you really can take the initiative, see whatever the hell Powerhouse Animation is doing and copy that. They've been around for 22 years for a reason, and with like 60 employees too. Clearly their system is working, as far as we know. Let's see if any animators over there start complaining in the future. But honestly, everything I've seen so far has been nothing but positive. In general, right now is the time for anime studios to band together with so much money being pumped into the anime industry. Instead of racing to the bottom, how about rising up together? After all, this higher quality anime has a better chance of being loved by the fans. Business-wise, that's gonna translate it to more money potentially long term. You could go ahead and find the full article and interview below. I definitely suggest going through it. Unfortunately, a few days later, this took a nasty turn. Oh, you spoke the truth. The Monkey Studio was not pleased. They asked Joan for an explanation regarding her revealing interview. According to her, they made it clear legal action against her was on the table. Hopefully they could resolve this matter peacefully. Whatever that means. That is some Yakuza level stuff for your ass right there. I will just point out we have no idea what type of NDA Joan may or may not have signed, especially regarding the work environment. At the same time, it's not like she started blasting someone specifically at the studio. This feels like either the CEO or someone else higher up got shamed and embarrassed this was getting any attention. Ironically, it got even more attention now with them threatening with legal action. Joan didn't back down. If they wanted to fight, she would also consider suing them back for overtime and other negligences. Thankfully, a few days later, you got an update. They were able to resolve this peacefully. And by the looks of her Twitter page, Joan is at a new studio now. One thing that stood out from this was really that neck-breaking schedule brought up. Too many anime projects, which sounds very similar to a recent claim made for Mappa. You just saw how doubling the workload for the Monkey Studio clearly pushed their staff to their breaking point. So looking at Mappa, are they taking on too many anime projects? Keep in mind, Mappa has about 250 employees. Taking a look at 2020, no wonder it seems Mappa's trying to do everything. But how about the workload? We got 6.5 cours plus 8 episodes, or roughly 7 cours. 7 cours in 1 year for their 250 or so staff, not including freelancers or anything they outsource. That actually doesn't sound that awful. For a loose, quick comparison, you had Saru that was doing fine with 50 guys when they were only doing around 2 cours a year. So speculation time. I really do think Mappa would have been just fine, if only they didn't get that resource-intensive Attack on Titan final season thrown into the mix. Which really goes back to the production committee wanting to rush out this season for whatever reason. One of the things I did forget to mention last time was the Rona situation, which at this point, I'm sure you've seen so many delays it's caused for your favorite anime. Joan did bring up how the slowdown from the Corona situation did make their scheduling worse. You could then imagine how it'd be for a different studio juggling multiple anime projects like Mappa. And they still didn't delay Attack on Titan Season 4. Hell, I don't think they delayed anything. So how does Mappa compare this year? You got Attack on Titan Season 4, 1 core. Zombieland Season 2, 1 core. Yasuke, half a core. Remain, 1 core. Deities no Uni Peace, 1 core. That Mappa Madhouse collab anime. The length is unknown, but I'm estimating half a core for Mappa. The Jujutsu Kaisen Movie, 1 core estimate. And Chainsaw Man, release date unknown, but 1 core if it is this year. In total, that's 7 anime series. But looking at the actual workload requirement for Mappa, that is 7 cores. 6 without Chainsaw Man. So if that heavy hitter could wait till next year, Mappa would actually be doing better than last year. And just because I want to give myself more work, I did do a comparison to other anime studios from 2020. For Toei Animation, over 1,000 employees, the anime total was 14, but the core total was 20 cores. This is not an exact science, but that would be about 60 people per core, or half of what Saru is doing. For Sunrise, about 250 employees, 6 anime total, also 6 cores total. Looks very similar to Mappa this year. For Bone Studio, 69 employees, 3 anime total and only 2 cores. For JC Staff, 200 employees, 9 anime total, 9 cores total too. JC Staff, you doing good, bro? Funny how no one even thinks about them too much. For A1 Pictures, about 180 employees, 7 anime total, and 7 cores. Similar to Mappa last year except with less people. For Madhouse, about 70, 3 anime and 3 cores. No wonder Mappa is seen as the new Madhouse. Ufotable, 200 employees, you had the Demon Slayer and Fate movie last year. In other words, about 100 employees on each project. Kyoto Animation, only the Violet Evergarden movie, but you know about the tragedy. Since they really boast the best work environment, hopefully they could fully recover soon. For some positive hope for Mappa, they did recently announce this new studio for making Chainsaw Man. They did mention trying to improve their conditions, better work environment. Is it just a PR move, or is this real change? Only time is gonna tell. Let me know what you think down below. Do you see possible change coming to the anime industry? Or if you made it here, just say hi. And let me also say a thank you to you. I'm really surprised and glad at the feedback and support that the last Mappa video got. I'm really glad there's enough interest that allows me to talk about this stuff and allow it to get more attention. So thank you. If you want to see me continue doing this, covering more anime studio stuff in the future, hit that like. And post below too, I do read those. Recently in Japan, I got the second Moderna shot. That took me out for like a day and a half. 2 days I couldn't work. And just know there is another Anime Japan video coming. But anyway, definitely don't miss last week's Things That Suck About Japan. And it's not about the anime studios. Subscribe and hit the bell to actually get notified by YouTube. Head over to the new channel for 5 more videos and I'll see you guys later.